Would you like to work less hours and get paid the same amount? No, this is not a sick joke. Over the past 6 months, 61 companies in the UK have been conducting the largest 4-day week trial, and their employees still got paid for the full 5 days. And the best part is, it was a huge success, with most of the companies saying they won't go back to a 5-day work week, and most of them seeing productivity going up, as well as employees' mental health improving. So in this video, I'm going to delve into the pros and cons of a 4-day work week and whether this is something everyone may see in the future. The pilot program was conducted in the UK by a non-profit group called 4-Day Week Global, UK's 4-Day Week campaign, and think tank Autonomy, as well as researchers around the globe from Cambridge University, University College Dublin, Boston College, and also with help from academic institutions in each region. The UK trial included more than 70 companies with 3,000 employees, and it completed in February of this year. But this wasn't the first study. During 2022, 33 companies in the US and Ireland also conducted a 6-month trial. So this latest study brings the global campaign's total number of completed pilot participants to 91 companies and approximately 3,500 employees. The 4-Day Week Global campaign claim the 40-hour work week was introduced in the manufacturing and industrial era. And they argue the 5-day work week is outdated, and it only persists because it is mistakenly believed to be optimal for the economy. But the 4-day work week idea isn't new. Between 2015 and 2019, the Icelandic government ran a similar trial with 2,500 public sector employees. The trial was so successful that it resulted in a reduction of work hours for over 80% of employees. And in addition, recently the UAE became the first country to nationalise a work week shorter than 5 days. So prior to the pandemic, when companies reduced work hours, the goals were generally to decrease burnout and increase productivity. But since the Great Resignation, it's also given companies a competitive edge for recruiting talent without having to pay newer staff higher salaries. So what were the results of the studies? Well, overall, it was a resounding success. Employers and employees were surveyed throughout, with lots of metrics being gathered, and in the end, 27 out of the 33 companies submitted a final survey. Overall, results showed that almost every company wanted to stick to the 4-day week post-trial. Employees themselves reported less stress and burnout, increased physical and mental health. Employees were able to exercise more, fatigue declined, sleep problems declined, staff reported a better work-life balance with an increase in overall life and job satisfaction, and many were able to spend more time with their friends, family and children. 70% of employees said they would require 10 to 50% more pay to go back to a 5-day schedule, with 13% saying they'd require more than 50%, and 13% said no amount of money could convince them to go back to a 5-day week. 96.9% of employees said they want to continue a 4-day week trial. Only 2 correspondents leaned towards not continuing, and not a single person said they did not want to continue. The cases where 4-day work weeks have proven unpopular is where managers intensify performance measurements and start monitoring staff more, which as a result increased stress levels. But overall, 55% of employees reported an increased ability to work, 73% had greater satisfaction with their time, 67% reported lower levels of burnout, 62% reported a better social life, 43% reported an improvement in mental health, 37% reported an improvement in physical health. Interestingly though, 16% of employees experienced an increase in stress, but more than twice as many were less stressed, with the remainder recording no change in stress levels. I wonder if this was down to the role or the company they worked for. It would be interesting to see what their job role was and if there was any correlation here. So the results strongly suggest that a 4-day week has the potential to reduce costs associated with healthcare. From the employer's perspective, when asked whether they will continue their 4-day week, out of the 27, 18 said they are definitely continuing, 7 are planning to continue but haven't made a final decision yet, 1 is leaning towards continuing, and 1 is not yet sure. None are leaning against or not planning on continuing. Many companies reported a reduction in absenteeism and experienced a better retention of employees. Staff turnover fell by 57%, which is great considering the current labour shortage in the UK and US, where companies have open positions and an inability to keep staff. So offering a 4-day week gives companies a competitive advantage. Some companies in the study that were struggling to recruit previously are now inundated with applicants. In relation to business productivity, 46% of companies reported the same productivity, 34% reported a slight improvement, and 15% reported a significant improvement, and 5% felt they were less productive. But company revenue rose by an average of 8.14% throughout the trial, and revenue was up by an average 37.55% compared to the same 6-month period of the prior year. Unsurprisingly, not every employee was able to reduce their work down to 4 days due to the amount of work they have. So the average number of days worked ended up at around 4.36 out of 5, with 79% of employees reporting that they got a 4-day week every week, and another 13.7% getting it every 2 weeks. The remaining 7% were either once a month or less or never. Interestingly, some employers implemented a conditional structure. For example, if you didn't complete your work, you wouldn't get the extra day off. It would be interesting to know what percentage of companies implemented this policy. I would suspect this would be quite high. In regards to environmental results, these metrics were encouraging, but it was noted that more studies are required for any concrete evidence. Now, you may be wondering how employers were able to become more productive when working 1 less day. Well, each company conducted a business review ahead of the trial for 2 months. In this, they put new processes in place around meetings and distractions, and reorganized and removed unnecessary procedures. For example, one company put a red light on their desks when employees didn't want to be distracted. Personally, I would love this at my work. It would probably stay on red most of the day though. Some companies reported that just by giving staff the possibility to have an additional day off a week encouraged them to work more productively. Now, you may be thinking this wouldn't work for all industries, and the people conducting these tests claim it does, as there is no one-size-fits-all. So different industries can implement this in their own unique way. Personally, I'm a little bit skeptical, and I think there will be exceptions to this. Firstly, the companies participating in the study wanted to do so. Therefore, they must have presumed the 4-day work week would potentially work for them. The companies participating in the study were mainly white-collar firms, with many tech firms, but there were some healthcare, retailers, restaurants, and construction companies too. For example, I don't see how this would work in a sales and commission related business. If you take a car salesperson that works on commission, they will only have so many people coming to view cars on the forecourt in a day. You could say their productivity may go up by them trying harder to make a sale, but if they are spending less time on the forecourt selling cars, it's going to translate to less sales. Similarly, industries that are hourly and service-based, like restaurants that pay by the hour, will result in less pay when working fewer hours. Also, some sectors such as consulting and law work around the concept of a billable hour or day, so less work means less income for the company. But it has been argued that these companies could bill by a project value rather than an hour or day rate, or potentially reduce their non-billable overheads so their teams are more focused on client work. As the model is not a one-size-fits-all, different companies adopted different strategies for the day that people have off. For example, some collaborative workplaces like marketing and advertising agencies chose for everyone to be off on the same day to increase collaboration on the days people are working. Other retail and service-based businesses implemented a Monday off for half the team and a Friday off for the other half of the team, so that the company could still support their clients. But this requires additional implementation overheads and communication within teams to effectively manage work when people are off. And some managers may not want this extra overhead. So what are the criticisms of the studies? So from the outset, almost none of the companies are not continuing the 4-day work week, which says a lot. Although it's a little too early to see the long-term results of whether the productivity will be sustained. The 4-day work week lends itself towards innovative companies such as those in the tech space, and in the study, the most commonly held occupations were information and communications technology professionals at 36%. I personally don't see how old school companies milking as much out of their staff as possible and already have staff burning out are going to be able to get their staff to do the same amount of work in 4 days without a loss in productivity or an increase in burnout. But this does beg the question, is the employer to blame here? Another criticism is that 66% of the companies that took part in the study had 25 employees or less. So is the 4-day work week more suited to smaller companies, or are they just more willing to try it without having to jump through hoops of getting senior management to approve the study? It would definitely be easier for a CEO in a small company to oversee the impact to the business as a whole than, say, Microsoft or Apple introducing this across the board. Another criticism is that 72% of the sample have at least a bachelor's degree or higher. But in the UK, 87% of the population do not have a bachelor's degree. So a lot of people in the pilot study were highly skilled. Also, almost half the people in the study were below the age of 35. So I'm not sure if this would make a difference, but both of these factors make it not fully representative of the wider population. Now, don't get me wrong, I would love to work a 4-day work week, but I feel like there is always a level of comparison. If the majority of companies don't move towards a 4-day work week, then those lucky enough to have a 4-day work week will feel lucky and so will likely keep the productivity up. But if this becomes the norm, would the productivity potentially go down again until, say, another company starts offering a 3-day work week? If anyone watching this is lucky enough to work at one of these companies in the studies, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. Given the research, I personally think the 4-day week is not likely to be 100% of the economy, just like the 5-day work week isn't now. But one day, who knows if it will be the new normal. Let us know your thoughts below and whether you would like a 4-day work week. And if you would like to take part in one of these studies, then I recommend going to check out the 4-Day Week Global website, as you can find out a whole load more info. So I'll put the link to that in the description below. And if you're getting bored working for your current employer, then you may be interested in some side hustles that anyone can do. So I recommend watching this video next. It's been Ollie from Get Geek Finance. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.